Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Great Malabite Ifeni.
Good morning,
Emmanuel.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Ayo.
Good to see you.
That's an open invitation to you by Smart to join the APC. Well, but that is not my worry. My worry is that my affluent friend Ruben is even counting the meats of children these days. The children, they need the meat. They need protein. But we just start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. I'll start from the window story above the masthead. NECA, that's the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. IMF's call for tax increase will spell disaster, provoke capital flight. Yes, the International Monetary Fund is advising Nigeria to increase taxes in order to reduce public borrowing. NECA is saying this will spell disaster for an economy already struggling to stay afloat and the private sector that is already overwhelmed by multiple taxes and they remain very vulnerable, as it were. This advice has come from as given by the IMF. Others are even saying it will bring more hardship into the business space in the country. But talking about taxes, many have said, why instead of imposing more taxes, widen the tax net to capture many groups that are not paying their taxes right now. Now, the lead story in new law, Adamawa Rec announces fake election result. INEC voice action summons officials to Abuja. There's plot to undermine democracy, provoke violence, says Atiku. No one should take laws into their hands. Fintiri wants PDP, BOT declare mandate can't be stolen. It's naked dance of shame. SDP candidates. Yes, this day describe what happened in Adamawa State yesterday as a new law. And I think there couldn't have been a better description where the resident electoral commissioner decided to announce results without figures. That is even almost criminal. And you wonder whether this REC is aware of the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022. Ruben, you quoted them copiously a short while ago. Section 64, subsection 4, section 65, subsection 1. Which gives that duty specifically to the returning officer. So what could be the motivation? Pecuniary or just mischief? But this is a clear breach of the law. It's not enough to invite him to Abuja with others, but after INEC's intervention, whatever the outcome, this fellow who has brought shame to the electoral process must be made to face the law. Anything short of that will be treating criminality with kid gloves. Remember what INEC resident electoral commissioner, then for Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini, ensured that the professor who tampered with election results was taken to court and he was jailed. This fellow should not suffer anything less than that because this is clear criminality. Now, other newspapers are reporting the story. The Punch newspaper, Adamawa Rec under fire, faces INEC panel today, while the Daily Trust newspaper, INEC holds emergency meeting today over Adamawa results collation moved to Abuja. Prosecute Rec Yadudu. Electoral body decries attack on commissioners. Atiku, CDD, Yaga. Others react. Now, if we just move over to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, the same lead story as INEC voids an announcement of Benani, PDP demands arrest of Adamawa wreck. But above the masthead of the Nigerian Tribune, bandits killed 22 in fresh attack in southern Kaduna. Southern Kaduna, now a killing field, and the security agencies seem to be overwhelmed. Or are they absent in that location? That these bandits come in at will and slaughter innocent Nigerians, and they just go away quietly, only to return when they feel they have to return. There's insecurity in the land. President Muhammadu Buhari, yes, holidaying or in Saudi Arabia, will just have to come and deal with this situation. There is so much insecurity in the country. It's not enough to tell us that I have reined in Boko Haram. Now, the Nation newspaper, yes, the lead story drama suspense uproar over Rex declaration of Benani. Now, this other story there, APC controls Senate with 59 seats. Yes, PDP 36, Labour 8, NNPP, SDP 2 each, ABGA, YPP 1 each. Yes, with this figure, the APC with 59, but the other parties, the minority parties now, have 50 altogether. This is not a comfortable majority. Even in the quest for the leadership of the Senate, the 10th Senate, well, the APC must put its acts together. Otherwise, the Bukola Saraki scenario may just play out, with the opposition parties having as much as 50 senators to cast their vote on that day. Any quarrel within the APC, a group teaming up with the opposition parties, that will be another Saraki scenario. Now, the Abuja Enquirer, yes, also reporting the Adamawa story, Adamawa Goba. Inside Rex field coup, Rex escapes lynching on easy calm in Yola. Abuja takes over process. Now, the New Telegraph newspaper, intrigues as Tinubu's associates in Southwest jostle for ministerial slots, giving the pedigrees of President-elect's men from Lagos, Ekiti, Oyo, is going to be a tough decision. Yes, of course, the president-elect, when he is sworn in on May 29, will have to pick at least one minister from each of the 36 states of the Federation. Now, in places like Lagos, Oyo, and Oyo, of course, there is already the jostle for position. Fashola is being put in the mix. Babatunde Fashola, the current Minister of Works and Housing, yes, and there is also the Minister of Technology, Mamaura, or Olorunimbe Mamaura, one-time Speaker, former Senator, and now Minister of Science and Technology. And of course, there is Wale Edun, who has been given assignment from teamship to his current posting as the one representing the Ashiwaju team in the Transition Council. Now, we will pick that one slot from Lagos. And of course, Oyo State is another place where some Tinubu followers will be jostling for positions for the single ministerial slot. Adebayo Adelabu, former Minister of Communications, Adebayo Shitu, and of course, there are others like Zach Adedeji, the Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dare. They will all be jostling for ministerial positions from Oyo State. Of course, other states, I'm sure there are also politicians are also jostling for the single ministerial spot from each of the 36 states of the Federation. Now, the Guardian newspaper, near bankrupt states, unviable projects await 18 new governors. Of course, there are states, the new governors that will take charge in 18 states of the Federation will meet a number of unviable projects. What will they do with those projects? Well, in a situation where the outgoing governor is the godfather of the incoming governor. Well, they will strike a deal, I will just want to guess. Now, the Daily Sun newspaper, striking workers cripple airports operations. All airports grounded as union begins warning strike today. Another strike in the offing. And the last time these workers, aviation workers went on strike, it did not last for the whole day. I hope this one will not be allowed to also last long so that Nigerians who are at the airport ready to travel to different locations will not be stranded for long. Now, the Business Day newspaper, Nigerian politicians struggle to tame social media generation. Yes, and of course, the obedience are part of that generation. And before long, the generation Z, the Z generation, will be having their say. We saw so much of that in the general election, but how soon they will take charge, left to be seen. Now, the foreign newspapers, quickly. Now, the New York Times is reporting Fox News goes on trial for 4 cities. Jury to weigh limits of the First Amendment. Yes, Fox News, yes, a judge in Delaware Superior Court, yes, is expected to swear in the jury this week. And Fox News will defend itself against extensive evidence suggesting it told its audience a story of conspiracy and fraud in the 2000 election. It knew wasn't true. Of course, Rupert Murdoch, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, they are all expected to be called to testify. And the jury will be asked to weigh in on the limits of the First Amendment. Heavy fine expected. Ruben, just before you weigh in, the Times of London is reporting adults should all be able to do mathematics. Prime Minister insists. He said that will help the economy. I don't know how that will help the economy. Ruben, you asked Mr. Wilson that question. I'm not sure he gave an answer that will satisfy many curiosity.
Well, but I mean, they were saying that he agrees with the Prime Minister that if you encourage numeracy, that will help and that it is useful. Well, the usual common sense, that English and maths are basic skills, that educated people should acquire. So to that extent, but my whole point is that it's not by teaching people mathematics, increasing the population of people who can do the figures, who can crunch the figures, that you strengthen the economy. There is a cocktail of other issues. Yes. Leadership, policy.
I'm still looking for the nexus between economy and everybody.
And everybody knowing how to crunch the numbers. Yes. But it's okay. There are many ways of looking at it. But Prime Minister Sunak says, he wants more people to be able to work the numbers. However, I wanted to go back to this same issue in Adamawa. And, the point has been made that, it's the biggest drama of the year. And the rest of the world must be wondering what we do here in Nigeria, the sheer impunity, the criminality of the conduct of the Resident Electoral Commission.
Brazen impunity.
When I drew Osaseuzi's attention to the fact that the reports tell us that he was accompanied by the Commissioner of Police. And the Commissioner of Police was sitting right beside him when he was, conducting
perpetuating illegality.
Now, what is the duty of the police? The Inspector General of Police had told us that in these supplementary elections, that the police will live up to expectations. Could it be the fact that the Commissioner of Police of Adamawa does not even know what the law says about declaration of results? The Commissioner of Police accompanying a man who is going to engage in a behavior, in conduct that is likely to breach public peace. If indeed, as Uzi points out, that INEC's hands are tied because INEC does not appoint a resident electoral commissioner. But there is nobody, there is nowhere that we are told that a resident electoral commissioner is above the laws of the land. And the police have the responsibility to enforce the law. The police have the responsibility when any individual is trying to cause a breach of the public peace within the purview of Section 249 of the Criminal Code, Section 88 of the same Criminal Code, Section 69 of the same Criminal Code. But you had the Commissioner of Police sitting down there and watching, being a spectator.
Ruben, could we just say that the police commissioner was complicit in this illegality
well, we don't
leave the entire police force out of this matter?
Well, maybe the investigation will reveal that. If the police commissioner is complicit, then that even makes it a more serious situation. This is just the point.
Because ignorance is not an excuse in law. Now, is that not what you say?
Yes, yes.
So you cannot say, I did not know he was breaking the law.
And then, the commissioner of police will say, I did not know he was breaking the law. And then, of course, the people who got attacked, the national commissioners who went there, who were not even part of that illegal declaration of results. So INEC has to resolve it. Government has to resolve it so that it doesn't become a source of insensitive, a precedent that will be, cited later by other persons who will say that after all they did it in Adamawa and nothing happened. If you are aggrieved,
you are putting it mildly. We want to see that man in court in a couple of days' time. This is a clear breach of the law. Yes. We want to see him in court in a couple of days' time.
But
you don't need 1 year to investigate this matter.
As he's facing INEC in Abuja today, immediately afterwards, he should be arrested and prosecuted. But just because we're about to round off, just to mention, spotlight the front page of the Punch newspaper, the Sudan, what's going on in Sudan currently in terms of the war between the army and the paramilitary RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. It continues, and 100 civilians are said to have been killed, with over 1,000 of them being seriously injured. They had said there was some sort of ceasefire on Sunday to take the injured to hospital, but the hospital said that they're overwhelmed. And here, we see where the Chadian president the Punch newspaper, meeting with the president of the Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari in Saudi Arabia to discuss this. The president has spoken out because in different times in the past, he's intervened in the crisis in Sudan and has said there should be a ceasefire. And the two generals who are at war, at the end of it all, should come to the table to negotiate. It's quite sad that it's civilians who have to bear the brunt in the interim, and that lives are being lost in Sudan. Just to highlight that.
The tragedy in Sudan is that the two generals, General Farah and General Dagalo, they are determined to destroy their own country. Yeah. And that is why the forces for change and democracy in that country, you need to speak up more. They've been told to observe a ceasefire, but the two generals don't even want to talk. So, leadership crisis, typical African
leaders have
problem.
been asked to intervene in the matter, and
they have. They are able to. Sudan, so even South Sudan is saying that they are ready to help mediate. Egypt has spoken up. United Arab Emirates has also intervened. Saudi Arabia has intervened. The African Union has suspended Sudan, but these two generals are holding an entire country to ransom. Bad behavior on all fronts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Efeni.